Hey there, this is Real Sean Irish coming at you from Atlanta, Georgia, with some afterthoughts on the whole conversation yesterday about the G culture, gangster culture, and the weaponization of black music in the early 90s. No, I don't believe that was an accident. I believe it was actually on purpose. And if you look online, I might see if I can find the link to it. But there's a letter from a record producer who was in the business at that time. He was very successful. He was invited to a meeting about new type of music that they being the industry, was going to push in the early 90s. And he attended, and push came to shove. He left the meeting very disappointed and disillusioned because they were told what was going to happen to black music. They were pretty much given the definitive reasons as to why, as I said, alluded to yesterday. There were investors in the private prison system at that time, which was just getting started, and they had decided they were going to be investing in the music industry, but specifically in a type of subgenre of rap and hip-hop called gangster rap. And here we are, from 1991. That was when that meeting was held, I guess. I'll see if I can find the link and post it. So here we are in 2018. 27 years later. And I guess I could say that it wasn't just music. It wasn't just black music that was co-opted. It was a very big, very huge, big chunk of black culture may have been co-opted similarly, because the music runs the culture, and black music prior to that had always been part of white culture, as far as I can tell. Even if you go back to say Elvis Presley, and a lot of people like to say Elvis Presley was a racist, and there's some evidence to support that. He was an old school Southern boy, but he loved black music, and as far as I can tell, that was the basis for all of his music. That was the basis for it. Was black music and gospel and that sort of thing. And he loved singing gospel, but he actually would, as a child, go to the black church across, a few blocks away from where he lived. He stayed in a place that was real similar to a projects. I've got pictures of it. I was working on a documentary on it a few years ago, so someday maybe that documentary will be completed. But in the meantime, you can take my word for it. I took pictures before they tore it down of the housing project. And right before they were getting ready to tear it down, for instance, I can tell you the exact location. I've got the notes, but it's been a minute since I've been working on that project, so I'll just tell you the story. So they had fences around this building, these housing projects, and it was for lower income folks. But there was one apartment in particular that seemed to still be set up. It still had kind of like furniture in it. I mean, they're abandoned. There's nobody there. They had furniture in it, like regular living furniture and stuff. It seemed to be kind of cordoned off. I went in there. It seemed to fit the bill for the type of place that Elvis Presley grew up in, and he would leave that, go to buy records right up the street a couple blocks away. But on Sundays he would leave the house early and go sit outside, because he couldn't enter a black church. This was the South, deep South, when he was growing up. He couldn't go into a black church because of the segregation and all that. That would have been scandalous, and who knows, people might have gone to jail, and who knows what kind of mess that would have been. But he would sit outside and listen during the services, and particularly loved the singing. I think that's where he learned how to sing, is sitting outside black churches. So you can call Elvis Presley racist all you want, whatever. There's probably some basis to that, just based on this old school Southern culture. But he wasn't. Now, the weaponization of black culture in general probably happened through the music. That seemed to be the most direct route. Music has a huge effect on culture, as we all know, and a lot of cultures are defined by their music. I mean, you look at European culture was defined by classical music for, a couple of hundred years. Think of a culture, African culture, and subcultures within the continent of Africa, because there are many subcultures within the continent. It's an entire continent, and it's monstrously huge. And they can be defined in large part by the types of music that they play. Some is throat singing, some is a really strictly choral, different styles of choral. They've created some of the best drums and drumming types of drum instruments in the world. You can define a culture by its music and the way it approaches its music. Appalachian culture. They had the hillbilly music with the banjos and which were really, the banjos were made-up instruments with cigar boxes and sticks and some wire or maybe some twine, and they would string that across and make a banjo out of it, 2 or 3 string little homemade banjo, and sing and make music out of it. There's a hill music, something that they learned, which was a variation of their local music from wherever they came from, whether it was Scotland or Ireland or God knows where the heck the folks came from in the Appalachians. And there were black folks at the foothills of the Appalachians down by the ocean and such in South Carolina. So let's not say that culture is devoid of music. Music is the sort of the soul. It kind of captures sort of the soul of a culture. So when you take over the music of a culture, let's say, if you were in the music industry in 1991, you were one of these people. I call them social Darwinists. They think they're better than everybody else, and anything that can prove their little theory of social Darwinism is okay in their eyes because they're doing it, and they're just showing you how clever they are by getting people to fall for their nonsense and bullshit and in weaponized media, if you want to call it that. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, in 1991, a bunch of social Darwinists and investors of the same mindset and ilk got together in the music industry and decided they were going to push this subculture, which was a very subculture at the time of gangster rap, which was, it was valid as a subculture, and now it's taken over black music. It's selling a lot of records? Sure, that's what they're pushing. Are they promoting a lot of artists? Yeah. They're making them rich and wealthy and famous and putting them on the cover of magazines? Yeah. I saw a couple of black artists tonight. I was at the bookstore looking for some design magazines and such. And I saw a black couple, and the woman was pregnant, and the fellow, he was there. He was kissing her belly and all that stuff. So was this on the cover of, Black Parenting? No. Was it on the cover of Parents or any kind of family magazine, or anything like that? No, it was on the cover of a lifestyle magazine, in which the message there is being sent when you put a black couple on a lifestyle magazine is that, hey, look at our rich and wonderful lifestyle and our wonderful, custom designed clothes, very expensive clothing, and this wonderful background, and look at all the money this magazine spent and paid us to do this photo shoot of us getting ready to have a baby so that we can accentuate our lifestyle. And that's a very mixed message. And tell me that's not as postmodern as it gets if you're having a family. If you're really about family, that's not as postmodern and deconstructionist as it gets, is, having a photo shoot around, a woman's pregnant belly that basically promotes a lifestyle. Is there any concern there for the child? This is what I'm saying. The effects, the philosophical effects of this weaponization of black culture and gangster culture are insidious, and they're everywhere. And I would hope for the sake of this couple, I'm not going to mention any names. You can go out to the magazine stand right now and find it. I'm not going to mention any names, but I would hope for their sake that they care about their baby a lot more than they cared about the money they were getting for that photo shoot or the prestige they might get. It was like a music couple, entertainment couple, from being on that cover, because that's just lifestyle issues. Your kids are way more fucking important, or they better be, than your damn lifestyle. They better be more important to you if you want your kids to have a chance. Okay? I'm just going to say that, as a friend and a person. Your kids better be way more important to you than some damn Porsche or some fucking house in wherever the hell you think you need it, and how many bathrooms and how much gold plating you want. They better be way more important to you than that, or your kids don't have a chance. I'm sorry, they won't have a chance at life. They're going to be messed up from the go because your priorities are fucked up. And that's a problem everybody has. But right now, I'm telling you, the media is targeting black people. It's through black culture. And it is very insidious. And it's all about, they're pushing this gangster thing. They're trying to push it into the common culture, because black music's always been American music. And, I could give you the music history of that, but I'm not going to bore you with it. I gave you the little Elvis example, because everybody says Elvis is a racist. He loved black music as much as anyone. So get over it, for a minute and admit that. But, do you think, let's look at the philosophical aspects of it for a second. Let's just say that gangster rap had taken hold in the 1950s. Would never have happened. Never have happened, because people in the 1950s thought differently. Everybody did. And yeah, there was a lot of racism in the South. America was still figuring out how to come out of that, as an American culture, as a gigantic American culture that had endured slavery and everything else, and Civil War and, Reconstruction and all that. all that garbage, all the carpetbaggers and all that crap. Because I live here in the South. I like it here in the South. I like the Southern lifestyle in general. And by that, I'm not talking about all that other shit. I'm talking about the modern Southern lifestyle. It tends to be a little more laid back. People tend to be a little more polite. And then there's stuff like, I don't know, peanuts. If you like peanuts, they're grown here. You get some of the freshest, best peanuts in the world here. How do you like them? Boiled? Do you like them fresh, baked out of the oven, or peanut butter, or whatever you want? It's right here. I got some dogs running around the yard kind of randomly here. There they go. But at any rate, yeah, so let's get back to black culture so I can wrap this thing up. I know my rants are getting longer and longer. I am no expert on black culture, but I do have a background in philosophy. I have a background in science and literature. I've got a degree in English, and I read widely, and I read a lot of news, and I consume a tremendous amount of media. Most of it's news-based, but I do consume a tremendous amount of media, and I worked in media for years, print, television, film, for about 34, 35 years now, and I'm in live entertainment. And so, it's just my observation that black culture needs to take itself back from this manufactured gangsta thing, big time. Let's get back and rejoin humanity and start getting our priorities reset. That's how you move forward out of that mess. Because as I said yesterday, gangster rap is a dead end. All the gangsters, they're running from the law, they're in jail, they're dealing drugs, they're hooked on drugs, they got a bunch of kids they can't or don't really parent, because gangsters don't parent. They got other stuff to do. They got to run games and drugs and whatever it is gangsters do to make a bunch of money because they don't work. And it's true, they don't work. They work very hard at not working. And, I got to hand it to that. And some folks can succeed at that, but for the most part, it's a hustle. It's just a hustle. It's just a hustle, guys. It's just a hustle. Think about it. Give yourself a fighting chance. Think about it. It's time to reclaim black culture. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about, African-American black culture in America. I'll need to reclaim your humanity. Forget this gangsta shit. There is no separate. There is no us and them. That's what the social Darwinists want. They want everybody doing us and them. That's exactly what they want. You want to fall for that, it's going to end very badly. I guarantee you. Because it can't end any other way. The us-them mentality is set for conflict and set for major conflict. So I'm just here to call it all back. Just saying, let's take a chill pill. Everybody recognize that it's not just black media that's been weaponized, it's black culture. And so it's time to chill. Folks need to start thinking about who's actually doing the manipulating. Might be Hollywood, might be the music industry, might be folks in entertainment that are playing along with it. Might be. Maybe we can call them out on that. Start getting back into things that matter. Start looking at our philosophy of life. And start seeing why are gangsters being, they're not pirates. They're just gangsters. They're just drug dealers and, pushing prostitutes and running games and doing whatever. I'm not saying it's good or bad. People do that, but it's not a lifestyle to be revered. It's nothing to hand down to your kids. Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's nothing to hand down to your kids. Peace.